So the objective of this domain is to plan, establish, and manage the capability to detect, investigate, respond to, and recover from information security incidents to minimize business impact. So in the complete domain, in all the domains, we are talking about risk assessment again and again. We are talking about how to implement the controls, how to bring down the risk level to an acceptable level, right? So our focus is bringing down the risk to the acceptable level. This domain represents 19% of the CISM examination as of now. It would be going to change going forward. Approximately 28 questions you will see in the exam if you are appearing for the exam. These are some of the objectives that are mapped to this domain, how you would be managing the incidents, right? What would be the components of the incident response plan, how you evaluate the effectiveness of an incident response plan. What does this mean? This mean when you implement it, whether your whether your incident management plan is working as it has been designed or it is not giving the appropriate results or outcomes, right? Understand the relationship among an incident response plan, a disaster recovery plan, and a business continuity plan. So there are some slides on disaster recovery and business continuity plan also, because it is part of your incident management as a whole. Coming to the next slide, it talks about task and knowledge statements. So there are around 10 task statements that are mapped to this domain. So when you go through the CISM review manual, you can go through these task statements as well. That will help you identify what all objectives or tasks are mapped to domain 4. Starting with the introduction part. What is incident management? You might have seen the information management processes within your organization, right? Here we are more focused from information point of view, information security point of view, and not from the operational point of view, right? So operational incident management processes are different. Incident management processes regarding to information security are a little bit different. So incident management is defined as a capability to effectively manage unexpected operationally disruptive events to the organization with the objective of minimizing impact, right? Why you design information management process or program, so that you can identify the information, identify the incidents proactively. So the overview of incident management is incident management responses can be considered the emergency operation component of risk management. We have already spoken about risk management, right? So what is the main crux of incident management? So whenever there is an incident, it means there is some emergency situation. We will talk about more how are the incidents identified, how the response is being made for the incidents. We will talk about it more in the coming slides. So if you think that there is a single best approach that you can follow, or there are industry practices, best practices that you can follow for incident management requirements, so that is wrong. You try to have the best in your organization in terms of processes, right? But if you think that you can eliminate 100% and there won't be any incidents in your organization, that won't be true, right? Constituency to be served. What does this mean, constituency to be served? Every geographic location has their own laws, the regulatory requirements, right? So the important factor is to follow what laws talks about, what regulatory requirements talks about, right? What are the mission goals and objectives of the business? What kind of services you are providing to the customers, right? Your organization model, right? What kind of customer base you have, right? Funding for startup costs and ongoing operations, that is very important when you are defining the information management requirements, right? We have already spoken about a lot of things regarding the requirements, how you identify the requirements, how you set goals and objectives for those requirements, right? Resources needed by the incident response team, right? What kind of resources would be needed? Technical resources, number of resources, right? Number of people with appropriate skills, right? All those things need to be considered when you are designing the incident management program. The goals of incident management and response activities are as follows. Detect incidents quickly. So that is the main crux. You have your incident management process. You implement the controls in place you implement the detective mechanisms in place so that incidents can be detected quickly, right? There won't be delay in detecting the incidents. Diagnose incidents accurately. You should have processes in place where the incidents are accurately diagnosed, right? What kind of incident it is, how much time it will take to resolve the incident, what teams would be involved to diagnose those incidents, right? Contain and minimize damage. Once the diagnose part has been done, the another thing would be to contain and minimize the damage to the business, right? You resolve the incident as soon as possible, and so that there would be less impact to the business. Restore affected services as soon as possible, right? Once you have restored the affected services, determine the root cause. What caused the incident, right? So that the incidents are not so that you can prevent the reoccurrence of the incidents. Document and report. Documentation is equally important. We have been talking about documentation in each and every domain. Reporting means you make a report of the incidents, right? What kind of incidents what was the severity level, how it was resolved, how much time it has taken to resolve it. All those things would be part of your report. Incident response procedures. When you design the incident response procedures, right, there is no guarantee that even the best controls will prevent disruptive or catastrophic incidents from occurring. You cannot stop the incidents, right? But you can have controls in place that can minimize the impact to the business if there are any incidents. Response management enables a business to respond effectively when an incident occurs, right? So that is the responsibility of incident response team. So whenever there is an incident, identify the incident, diagnose whether it is an incident, what is the severity level of the incident, right? And responding so that there is minimum impact to the business in a very timely manner. That is very important. What is the incident management? Some of the factors that compound the necessity of effective incident management. So these are some of the factors, not the exhaustive list that has been provided in your CISM review manual as well. Right. So this content has completely been taken from the CISM review manual so that no one has any difficulty understanding the concepts when we are relating the presentation to your CISM review manual. So why it is important to have effective incident management, right? So these are some of the factors that makes it the necessity of effective incident management. Trend of both increased occurrences, right? If you are getting the same incidents again and again. Escalating focus losses resulting from information security incidents. For example, your any of the incidents, for example, your ransomware attack, right? Ransomware attack will always encrypt your important document, and if you don't have appropriate controls in place, obviously there would be business impact or operational impact as well. Increase of vulnerabilities in the software or systems affecting larger parts of an organization. As we have spoken before also, how you can avoid the vulnerabilities in software or systems. How we can do it? We can proactively have measures in place. You do proactively the vulnerability assessments, penetration and testing, or you embed a security layer within your SDLC processes. If you do so, these are some proactive measures to reduce number of incidents, right? Failure of security controls to prevent incidents. So you implemented the security controls, but those security controls were not effective. That is the reason incidents were not avoided. For example, you have antivirus installed on all the workstations, but if the signatures are not updated, it will not prevent the incidents proactively. Legal and regulatory mandates the requirement of development and incident management capability. For example, your SOX requirement, right? Your privacy laws. your GDP, for example, your GDPR, right? So these legal and regulatory requirements mandates that you should have an incident management capability or incident management program within your organization. Right? So normally, what is the process? There is some incident. You inform the incident management team. There is an incident. They will identify whether it is an appropriate incident or not, and if it is an incident, they will respond to it in an appropriate manner. Right? The growing sophistication and capabilities of profit-oriented and nation-state attackers, advanced persistent threats, increasing zero-day attacks. So these are some of the factors that has mandated to have an effective incident management program in place in your organization. What are the outcomes once you have the incident management? What would be the possible outcomes of the incident management program? It can deal with unanticipated events. You have some incident in place. You have proper incident management team who can take care of the incidents. They have proper resolution. They have proper documentations in place, right? So there can be three type of events. There are three type of factors that can be considered. We can talk about it in coming slides. The organization will have sufficient detection and monitoring capabilities. How you detect and how you monitor the capabilities is equally important. For example, you have intrusion detection system, right? It will detect it will act as a detection mechanism to detect the information security incidents, right, or suspected attacks, right? Monitoring capabilities like SIEM, right? SIEM is a software that correlates or aggregates all the logs from different devices and do the log analysis and ascertain whether there is any kind of suspected breach or security incident, right? Personnel will be trained in the recognition of each incident, the application of severity criteria, and reporting and escalation procedures. What does this mean? So whosoever is part of your information management team should know how to recognize the incidents, right? For example, awareness sessions are provided to the people, right? Application of severity criteria. Now, how you decide whether the incident is severity 1, severity 2, severity 3, it depends upon the impact of business, what kind of impact it has. If it is critical, it will be severity 1. If it is not critical, it can be severity 3, severity 4. So the criteria is already documented and people know how to diagnose or identify whether it's a SEV 1, SEV 2 issue, SEV 3 issue, or SEV 4 issue. So what is the role of information security manager in incident management? So information security manager's role is very important, right? He acts as a first responder to information security related incidents regardless of the cause. So he is the first one to be notified whenever there is a security incident in the organization, right? To deal effectively with security incidents, it is important for the ISM to have a good conceptual and practical knowledge of what is required to adequately address those responsibilities. So he should be whatever the information security manager roles and responsibility has, he should be aware of all the things, right? What he has to do in case there is an incident. What is the escalation matrix, how he has to approach different teams, what teams should be involved when responding to the incidents, right? He should have a high level of technical knowledge for the domain as well, so that he can provide some kind of expertise to the teams, right? There must be a good understanding of the business continuity and disaster recovery. So every incident would not activate the business continuity procedures every time. So it depends what kind of incident it is, right? For example, your pandemic, right? This was an incident. So it was suddenly activated and business continuity was suddenly activated for the organizations. Even the organizations were not even prepared for this kind of incident or events, right? What is effective incident management? Effective incident management means your whatever incident management processes that has been designed are working as they are expected to work, right? It means the incidents are identified in the timely manner. Business impact is reduced by working on the incidents, right? Incidents must be classified to ensure that they are correctly prioritized and routed to the correct resources. So normally the help desk would be the first point of contact whenever there are some information security breaches or incidents. They will be contacted by different means, by emails, by messages, or by calling them, right? And they would be able to identify or classify the incidents, right? So in case they are able to diagnose them and rectify them at their level, then the incident is resolved quickly. If it is not, then they should route the incident to the correct resources. Incident management often includes other functions such as vulnerability management, security awareness training, as we have already talked about it, right? Senior management commitment. So from domain one, we have been talking about senior management commitment. It is very important, right? Senior management commitment is critical to the success of incident management. If we don't have senior management buy-in, they will not support our information security processes, right? Incident management is also information security process. A business case that can show under any circumstances effective incident management response may be a less costly option than attempting to implement controls for all possible conditions, right? Then once you have a business case, you showcase to the management what kind of processes you want to implement, right? How effective the incident management processes will be, right? And you have the incident management process in place. Tested incident management and response may also allow the organization greater business opportunities by allowing higher levels of acceptable risk based on demonstrated capacity to handle security incidents. So what does this mean? Tested incident management means once you have incident management processes defined and ready, you should test those processes from time to time, right? So that people are aware, people are ready and prepared in whenever there is an incident. Moving to the next slide, incident management resources. So there are a number of internal and external resources that has to be part of your information incident management and response plan, right? Your IT department, internal audit team, HR department, legal department. So all these departments will provide some inputs whenever when you are planning for incident management processes. So there are four kind of models that can be implemented in any organization. So these are incident response team organizations. Central IRT means that wherever your office is on the globe, right, in any country, you have a centralized incident response team who works on incidents, any identified incidents, right? Distributed IRT means there won't be any centralized incident response team. Every location has their own incident response team, right? So for India, it would be a different team. For US, it would be a different team. For other countries, it would be a different team. That is called distributed IRT. Coordinating IRT is a hybrid. It's a kind of hybrid model. It's a combination of central and distributed model, right? There would be a central team plus there would be a distributed team or location specific incident response team also. And outsourced means when you are outsourcing any kind of IT services, you also outsource the incident response team to some third party who will take care of your organization's incidents. Skills are very important, right? So the members of incident response team should have the following skills. They should be well versed with the communication skills, how they communicate to the stakeholders whenever there are incidents, right? Leadership skills are very important for the IRT members because they would be providing they would be leading several teams whenever there is the incident. Presentation skills are equally important because you provide the presentation to the senior management, board of directors on the regular status of the incidents, right? Ability to follow policies and procedures, so your personal people would have, you would have knowledge about things, about the incident management policies or your organization level policies and how to follow them, right? Team skills, integrity is another important thing that that should be a part of the personal skills for the people. Like self understanding, coping with stress is very important, because whenever there is the incident, people would be working for 12 hours, 15 hours in the stress, or there can be time when they are working for more than 15 hours, right? Problem solving is very important. Whenever there is the incident, how to resolve it, right? That is very important in order to minimize the business impact. Time management, how they prioritize the incidents. There can be multiple incidents at the same time, so prioritization is equally important, or time management is equally important. How they are provided, how they are given time to different tasks or incidents. Outsourced security providers. So we have spoken about outsourcing in earlier domains as well. Many organizations are outsourcing the IT services to third parties these days, right? Whether it is cloud-based, whether it is for any kind of IT work, application development, or providing infrastructure services. Right? Outsourcing incident management capability may be cost-effective option, especially for smaller organizations, because having the incident management team within the organization, obviously it involves a lot of cost, and bigger organizations, they can afford that cost of having their own incident management teams. However, in smaller organizations, normally they tend to outsource the incident management capability to other organizations, right? Organization that outsource their IT operations may benefit from close integration if incident management is outsourced to the same vendor. So what does this mean? You are outsourcing the IT operations to for example, ABC vendor or third party, right? Now it is equally important who is taking care of your incident management process. If it is the same vendor or third party to whom you have outsourced the IT operations, you should outsource the incident management capability to the same vendor as well, right? So there won't be any mismatch, there won't be any differences, and they would be knowing in and out of your IT processes. So it would be easier for the same vendor to work on the incident management capability as well. Okay. What are the incident management objectives? As I told you earlier, respond to and contain security incidents as quickly as possible and restore the operations as soon as possible is the objective of any incident management program, right? If the organization is failing to do so, it will result in the declaration of the disaster, right? Obviously there would be higher impact, and there would be disaster, there would be loss of business, loss of revenue to the organization. The objectives of incident management are to handle incidents when they occur, so the exposure can be contained as soon as possible. They should be in line with the recovery time objectives, right? Why it says to be in line with recovery time objective? Because recovery time objective, as I told you in one of the earlier domain as well, what is recovery time objective? The time by when you can resume the overall services for the business, right? That is RTO. So how much time you would be able to recover from the incident should be less than your RTO. If it exceeds RTO, there would be unnecessary losses. Restore system to normal operations, prevent previous incidents from reoccurring by documenting and learning from past incidents, deploy proactive countermeasures to minimize the probability of incidents. This can be done by having the problem management in place, by doing the by working on the root cause of the incident, so that incidents should not reoccur again in future. And these are some of the metrics and indicators, right, that you can use for demonstrating the dashboard to the management. Total number of reported incidents. Normally, I have seen this kind of meetings happening every week with the management, right? How many incidents has been reported in a week, right? How many number of incidents were detected appropriately? Number of days without incident. This means there are no incidents on the number of days. Average time to respond to an incident relative to the RTO. This is what I was explaining in the earlier slide. Average time to resolve an incident. A total number of incidents successfully resolved. Incidents not resolved successfully. It is not necessary that all the incidents are resolved. There may be some incident that takes more time to resolve, right? Or that cannot be resolved because of some legacy technology in the organization due to any factor. Proactive and preventive measures that has been taken for the incidents, right? Total number of employees receiving security awareness training. This is also very important so that people know when and how to respond to the incidents. Total damage from reported and detected incidents if incident response was not effective. Total savings from potential damages from incidents resolved. So main objective is to minimize the impact, right? Detection and notification times, how the detection happened, who all were notified, whether people were notified on the timely manner, if the customers are engaged, whether they were provided the notification regarding any kind of incident, right, or any kind of downtime. Defining incident management procedures. How you define incident? So right now we have a lot of information what we have to do, right? Defining incident management procedures, as I told you before, you can make use of any kind of industry practices like NIST. NIST also provides you good incident management SOPs or standards that you can use, or you can tailor it down as per your organization requirements. Triage event, that is a very important process. Triage is a process of sorting, categorizing, correlating, prioritizing, and assigning incoming reports or events or any kind of incident, right? Typically into three categories: the problems that cannot be readily resolved. So there would be incidents that cannot be resolved at the same time. There would be problems that can be resolved uh, as soon as possible or immediately, or there would be problems that can wait and those can be efficiently addressed with the resources available, right? So there are three categories that you should keep in mind: the problems that cannot be readily resolved, those that can wait or can be resolved later on because there is no much financial impact or business impact, and those that can be efficiently addressed with the resources available. What does this mean? You already have the resources, you know, if there is some kind of incident, you already have the resolution to it. Current state of incident response capability. So this is through gap analysis, right? So to know what is the current state of the incident response capability, if your organization already have the incident management process in place. So the information security manager must identify what is already in place as the basis of understanding the current state. So there are many ways to do it. You do the self-assessment, you do reviews, you do the audit, internal audit, or you can get the external audit done also. You can ask your senior management, business managers, IT representatives in the form of interview sessions. They will be able to provide you more information about the existing state or current state of the incident response capability. History of incidents. What is history of incidents? Keep track of all the incidents that has happened in the past, right? Past incident can provide valuable information on trends and type of events and business impacts, right? It will help you improvise your incident management processes. Incident response plan Now we are talking about developing an incident response plan. So we have already considered what needs to be done, what all things needs to be considered, right? How you can how you seek the management support, right? Now you have to develop an incident response plan. So the incident response plan is the operational component of incident management. The plan details the actions, what person has to take, what activities has to take place, right? So there is no loss of the information of the systems or processes. These are the elements of the incident response plan that you would be developing. Preparation, right? Identification, containment. What is preparation? This prepares an organization to develop an incident response plan prior to the incident. So it's a proactive measure that you are taking. We are ready with the incident response plan, right? If any incident occurs, we would be able to handle the incident in a very efficiently way and very effective way, right? Identification. This phase aims to verify if an incident has happened and find out more details about it, right? So for example, anyone reports about the incident, right? So you will first identify whether it is an incident or not, right? So for example, you receive a spam email, you will send that spam email to your corporate security or incident response team, right? They will verify whether it has been incident or not. They will verify whether people have actually clicked on any of the malicious links provided in the spam email or not, right? So activities in this phase include assigning ownership of an incident or potential incident to an incident handler, verifying reports or events whether they qualify for an incident or not, establishing the chain of custody. What is chain of custody? Preservation of evidences that should be presentable in the court of law is known as chain of custody. Determining the severity of an incident and escalating it as necessary. I told you what is the severity, how you determine the severity of an incident. For determining the severity of the incident, the business impact analysis has to be done, right? So on the basis of business impact analysis, you come to know regarding your critical assets. You come to know which information assets will have high impact, right? And if the incident is impacting any of the critical assets that were part of your business impact analysis, obviously the severity of that incident will be high. Containment. After an incident has been identified and confirmed, the IMT is activated, right? And information from the incident handler is shared. It means your containment, so the impact should be minimized as soon as possible. Eradication and recovery are other components of or elements of an incident response plan, right? Eradication means removing the root cause, removing why the incident has happened, right? Locating the most recent version of the backups or alternative solution. This is one of the activities in this phase. So it normally happens, like for example, I told you the example of ransomware, right? Ransomware will encrypt the information and you won't be able to decrypt it back. So in that case, what you will do, if you don't have backups or alternate solutions, obviously your data is gone. There is nothing that you can recover it. Removing the root cause. In the event of worm or virus infection, it can be removed by deploying appropriate patches or updated antivirus software, right? For example, if there is any virus outbreak in your organization, how it can be removed, and how the incident and how the business services should be restored. Improving defenses by implementing protection techniques. Now, protection techniques can be a number of technical controls, right? You deploy the firewalls, you deploy the IDS IPS, you deploy the SIEM for detection techniques, right? You do the vulnerability assessments, right, for detecting new vulnerabilities, right? Recovery. Restoring the operations as defined in the SDO. What is SDO? Service delivery objective. I told you in one of the domains what are SDOs. Validating what that actions taken on restored systems were successful, right? Or getting involvement of system owners to test the system. Lesson learned after the incident, this is very important. What was the lesson learned? You write down in the incident report, you analyze the issues encountered during the incident response efforts, right? So that you can improvise your incident management processes. And presenting the report to relevant stakeholders. Gap analysis we have already spoken about in our earlier chapter, so I will skip this. Business impact analysis. We have already spoken about business impact analysis, but still, because it is part of your this domain, we'll do a refresh on this. What is business impact analysis? You do business impact analysis to ascertain what are the critical assets, right? This will help you design a criteria for prioritizing the incidents, right? So the BIA must determine the loss to the organization resulting from function being unavailable. If it is a critical function and it is unavailable, what would be the loss that the organization can suffer or the business can suffer? Establish the escalation of that loss over time, right? Escalation means you're sending a communication to your higher management or the business owners. Identify the minimum resources needed for recovery, right? If the incident is impacting the critical component of the business, so what are the minimum resources that are needed to recover that business back to the operation state? Prioritize the recovery of processes and supporting systems based on the prioritizing criteria, right? So BIA purpose is to create a report, help and stakeholders understand what impact an incident could have on the business. Escalation processes for effective incident management, that is very important, right? Escalation processes are your part of your overall incident management program, right? As part of the emergency management, incident management policies and procedures, a detailed description of the escalation provided processes already documented, right? So that whenever there is an incident and there is a need to escalate it, it can be escalated to the people who are part of your emergency management or escalation process. For every event, a list of actions should be described in the sequence to be performed. So it is easy for anyone who is there in the in the team, right, to follow the processes in a very consistent manner. For entities and personnel that should receive an alert, who should receive an alert, right? Because there is a regulatory requirements also that focus that says that the within 48 hours or within 72 hours, all the stakeholders should be informed, right? Help desk or service desk processes for identifying security incidents. As I told you earlier, help desk or service desk are the level 1 point of contact, right? So these processes are very, very important, right? So the help desk or service desk is likely to receive the first reports indicating a security problem. They will identify it if they will identify it. If it is not possible for them to resolve, they will escalate it to appropriate teams, right? They will involve other people to resolve the incident. By defining appropriate criteria and improving the awareness of help desk or personnel, the information security manager develops other important methods to detect a security incident. These are the teams, incident management and response teams, who are normally involved whenever there is some major incident. Emergency action team, those are the first responders whose function is to deal with fires, other emergency response scenarios, and so on. Damage assessment team is a group of people who will do the initial assessment about the damage if any incident has been materialized. Emergency management team, right, it is responsible for coordinating the activities for all other recovery teams, right? So it is a team that will work with all the teams to see what needs to be done in case of an incident, how the recovery procedures are taking place, and also working with senior management for handling the key decision making. Relocation team, if your primary operations location is completely damaged or the operation needs to be shifted to the alternate site, for example your hot site or warm site, right? the relocation team will take care of it. And the security team, often your CSERT or CSERT team, or that is part of your core information security team, they monitor the security of systems and communication links, and what are the ongoing security threats. All these things are taken care by your security team. What are the challenges in developing an incident management plan? Very important, lack of management buy-in and organizational consensus, right? As we have already spoken about it, that management commitment is very important. Mismatch to organization goals and objectives, right? If it is the program is not meeting your organization goals and structure, then there is no use of this program. IMT member turnover. What does this mean? If IMT members are available at the time of incidents, right? There are redundant employees who can work on the incidents or not. Lack of communication process. Incident has happened and the process was lacking, and the appropriate stakeholders or management was not communicated regarding the incident. Complex and broad plan. Plan should be very simple. It should not be complex and broad, right? Should be easy and clear to understand. Business continuity and disaster recovery procedures. We have spoken about it to some extent earlier also. What is business continuity and disaster recovery, right? So whenever there is whenever there is an incident that is impacting the business, we should have business continuity in place. And if your primary facilities has been destroyed, or and so the normal operations cannot be carried out, you should have disaster recovery site in place to overcome such situations. So the effective strategy for recovering plan strikes the most cost-effective balance among risk management efforts, incident management response, business continuity, right? So it is very important to have business continuity plans and disaster recovery plans in place, right? So BCP is a continuous process that is actively implemented in business as usual, while the DRP is reactive in nature. DRP obviously is required whenever a disaster strikes at your primary facility and you have to activate the DRP plan. Recovery operations. Recovery operations means when your primary facility is down due to some incident, the recovery team will take up this responsibility to recover the operations at the primary site, right? On complete restoration of the primary facility, data processing facilities, recovery team updates the business continuity leader, whoever is the concerned business continuity leader, or the senior management, right? That to declare the normalcy of the operations on the primary site, right? Minimally, a focused risk assessment should be conducted to make management aware of the extent and potential impacts of the security risk introduced by execution of the plan. Okay. What are the recovery sites? How many recovery sites are there? There are a lot of recovery sites. The most important one are hot sites, warm sites, cold sites, reciprocal sites. What is a hot site? Hot site is where it's an just replica of your primary site. It has everything in place, your communication links, wiring, your servers, your storage, everything is in place, and it is up and running, right? So you don't have to do anything. You just need to move from your primary set facility to your alternate hot site. Warm site is not completely up to date. It has some wiring done, basic infrastructure is in place, right? Storage is not properly there, backups are not restored to the servers, so it will take some time to be operational. For example, it can take around 6 to 12 hours to be operational. I am not able to recall the exact timings. Cold sites are nothing, it's just a blank or the vacant facilities that has nothing in terms of infrastructure, right? So if you want to shift from primary facilities to the cold site will take some number of days to be up and running. Reciprocal agreements can be these are the agreements that are done with some other companies to use their facilities in times when there is a disaster at your facility, right? So these are the agreements that has been done with other organizations or companies that are in other locations so that you can use their locations at the time of the disaster. Basis for recovery site, AIW, RTO, RPO, SDO, MTO, these we have already discussed earlier in chapter 2, chapter 1, right? Proximity, so I'm not going to in details again. Integrating incident response with business continuity. What is integrating incident response with business continuity? The very important thing, where effective integration of incident response and business continuity, DRP requires a relationship among RTOs, RPOs, SDOs, MTO to be carefully considered. As I've given you the example of how RTO is related to any of the incidents, right? And how soon you can recover or restore the operations within the RTO time frame. Notification requirements. Notifications are very important, right? So there is a directory that is part of your document which will have all the contact numbers, information of all the people who are responsible or who are part of your incident management team, right? The directory should also include at least the following individuals: representatives of equipment and software vendors. Why this is required? If you are restoring, for example, you are moving to the disaster recovery cold site. Now cold site will not have any kind of equipment or software at that time, so you have to order it from the vendors. So right, so you should have the contact information of the representatives of equipment and software vendors. So if required, you can contact them at any point of time. Contacts with companies that have been designated to provide supplies and equipment or services. Just I told you earlier. Contacts at recovery facilities, right? Contacts at offsite media storage facilities. If you are using the backup media tapes, right? Insurance company agents who can provide the insurances for the disaster that has happened or for the impact that has happened to the facilities. Right, contacts with HR or contact person services or law enforcement contracts. Supplies is part of the supplies is the same thing we have spoken about here. Contacts with companies that have been designated to provide supplies and equipment to services. Right, the plan must include provisions for all supplies necessary for continuing normal business activities during the recovery effort. Right, so that you should have the supplies if it is required. You can contact them. They will provide you the necessary supplies at the time of recovery effort. Communication networks. So communication networks can also be part of the disaster, right? The same natural disaster that has happened. Lines can go down. Networks will not work. Internet will not work, right? So you should have the backup plan for communication networks as well. Insurance, we talked about it. It should be noted that an organization can typically not insure against failure to comply with legal and regulatory requirements or any other breach of law. So if any kind of incident that is happening because of non-compliance with legal and regulatory requirement, that is not covered under insurance. Updating recovery plans. So whatever documentation you have done, right? You have your incident management procedures, you have your incident response plans in place, you have recovery plans in place that should be reviewed from time to time, and it should be updated if required. The following factors as well as other may impact requirement and need the plan to be updated. A strategy that is appropriate at one point of time may not be adequate as the needs of an organization change. So if there is any organization change, the strategy will change. New applications may be developed or required. So today we have our recovery plans as per today's requirement, but after some time, for example, we have deployed more applications or developed more applications or acquired more applications that are part of your infrastructure. In that case, you have to again do the business impact analysis, right? Changes in business strategy may alter the significance of critical applications. Changes in software or hardware environment, changing in physical and environmental circumstances, right? If any of these cases, you have to update your recovery plans. from time to time. Normally, recovery time should be reviewed at least yearly or whenever there is a change. And it should be tested also from time to time. Testing incident response and business continuity disaster recovery plans. Testing should focus on identifying gaps. Testing should be done at least annually, right? Testing should focus on identifying gaps, verifying assumptions, testing timelines, determining the effectiveness of strategies, determining the accuracy and currency of the plan information, whatever you have in place, uh, whatever is documented in terms of business continuity or disaster recovery. Testing for infrastructure and critical business applications. So the business application that were part of your business impact analysis, right? The testing should be done so that you can you should have the knowledge whether the backup plans or business continuity plans are working for the critical business applications or not. Testing recovery and response plan must include both infrastructure and critical applications, right? Although not necessary at the same time. To ensure they are recovered in a timely fashion, the information security manager needs to perform appropriate recovery tests at least annually. Test results. A recovery test should strive at minimum accomplish the following tasks. These are the key tasks. From high level, let us verify the completeness and precision of the recovery and test plan. So whatever are the test results that needs to be properly documented, and whatever the test results are, results will help you identify the gaps, right? It will identify whether the plans are working appropriately or not, right? And where you have to improve on the recovery plans. I will move on. I'm not going to deep dive into it, otherwise it will take another half an hour. Recovery test metrics. Once you have done the recovery test, you should have metrics in place that can be provided to the management, right? What these metrics include: the time taken to restore the recovery efforts, amount of work performed, right? Percentage or number of vital records or critical systems that were restored during the exercise. What was the accuracy percentage, right? So all these factors needs to be taken care. It should be part of your metrics and dashboard. Post-incident activities and investigation. What are post-incident activities and investigation? Once the incident has happened, it has been resolved, right? You will investigate more. You will document it, right? Understanding the purpose and structure of post-incident reviews and follow-up procedures enables ISM to continuously improve the security program. So incident has happened. We have reviewed the incident, why it has happened. We know the root cause also, right? So it will help you to improve your security program. And additionally, ISM needs to calculate the cost of the incident. That is also very important. Cost of the incident means what was the cost impact or quantitative impact of the incident, right? What all response efforts were included, right? How much additional or special software or hardware was needed to handle the incident. So each and every parameter needs to be considered while determining the cost of the incident. The information security manager should manage post-event reviews to learn from each. That what we call as lessons learned, right? So lessons learned are equally important in order to improvise your existing information incident management processes. Identifying causes and corrective actions. Now, security incidents can be the result of externally initiated attacks. It can be result of internal attacks as well, right? What should be taken care of? Who was involved? What has happened? These are some of the questions that you will come to know, or you can answer yourself once you have at the time when you are identifying the causes, right? Where did the attack originate? When? What was the time frame? Why did it happen? What was the root cause? How was the system vulnerable? What was the reason for the attack, right? Documenting events mean the proper documentation of all the events that has happened should be taken care, right? Documentation of any event that has possible security implications that can provide clarity as to whether an incident is merely an accident, mistake, or deliberate attack. Good documentation will prove invaluable in post-incident investigation and forensics, and may be helpful in incident resolution. We have spoken about and discussed about documentation in every domain. Establishing procedures. Why we need to establish procedures and for what? We need procedures in order to develop data preservation procedures with advice and assistance of legal counsel. Right? When it is required in case the incident has some legal or regulatory impact and the evidences needs to be preserved. That has to be presented in the court of law. Right? For that, you have to establish the procedures, and these procedures needs to be developed in consultation of your legal counsel, who can provide you the information. How should you preserve the evidences, and what are the requirements for preserving the evidences? These are some of the requirements of preserving the evidences. So, for example, there was some incident and you have to preserve the hard disk, right? So you need to ensure that the hard drive is not tampered, right? Otherwise the integrity issue will be there. So the information security manager should understand that any contamination of evidence following an intrusion could prevent an organization prosecuting a perpetrator and limits its operation. So if the evidence is contaminated or it has been tampered, then you cannot prosecute the perpetrator. So you have to take all these things in consideration when you are preserving the evidence. So they have given one very beautiful example. When taking a copy of a hard drive, the technician should take a bit level image of all the data on the drive using a cable with a write protect diode to prevent writing anything back onto the source drive. So this helps in maintaining the integrity level of the hard drive. Right? Hash values of both the source and destination drive should be calculated to ensure that the copied drive is an exact image of the original. Okay. What are the legal aspects of forensic evidence? So as I told you, for evidence to be admissible in the court of law, it must have been acquired in a forensically sound manner, and its chain of custody should be maintained. So the forensic team will follow the proper procedures to maintain the chain of custody for the evidences, right? Chain of custody forms that include name and contact information of the custodian, when, why, and by whom an evidence item was acquired, detailed identification of the evidence, where it was stored, when it was returned. Everything should be part of your chain of custody, and everything should be documented.